Aloha everyone, my name is Madison Smith and I, along with Ryan Fukuoka, will be presenting to you today on the fossil fuel natural gas. So basically to start off, what is natural gas? Natural gas is a fossil energy source that forms deep beneath the Earth's surface. It contains many different compounds comprised mainly of methane and smaller amounts of natural gas liquids such as carbon dioxide and water vapor. Natural gas is used as a fuel to make materials and chemicals. How is natural gas formed? Natural gas is a product of decomposed organic matter, typically from ancient marine microorganisms that were deposited over the past 550 million years. So natural gas is a finite resource that we have. And basically the process of it is that this organic material mixes with mud, silt, and sand. It becomes buried in an oxygen-free environment. And there's increasing amounts of heat and pressure that causes it to undergo a thermal breakdown process, converting it into hydrocarbons, which is natural gas. Production, here's an image on the different types of production. There's three types. First, conventional natural gas is found between layers of overlying rock. Second, shale or tight gas occurs in and is found in tiny pores within formations of shale, sandstone, and other types of sedimentary rocks. And associated natural gas is found with deposits of crude oil. Now, the United States produces shale or tight gas, natural gas. And it is extracted by the process of fracking. Now, fracking is forcing water, chemicals, and sand down a well under high pressure, breaking up the formation, resulting in the natural gas being released and directed up wells to the surface. Following, the natural gas is put into gathering pipes and sent to the processing plants. So here is an image of how natural gas is produced and delivered from the oil and gas wells all the way to the consumer. So basically, natural gas contains contaminants and hydrocarbon gas liquids, HDLs, that must be removed before the natural gas can be safely delivered to a high pressure, long distance pipelines that transport natural gas to consumers. Natural gas processing is complex and it involves a series of stages to remove oil, water, HDLs, and other impurities such as sulfur, helium, nitrogen, hydrogen sulfide, and carbon dioxide. Basically, the composition of the wellhead natural gas determines the number of stages and processes required to produce pipeline quality dry natural gas. Pipelines then move the natural gas from production fields to markets through three types of transmission pipelines. One is an interstate, which transports across state borders, an intrastate, which transports within state borders, and Hinshaw, which receives natural gas from interstate pipelines and delivers to consumers for consumption in a state. If natural gas is not transported to a consumer, then it is stored in our reserves. So demand of natural gas fluctuates daily and seasonally. So therefore, storage is needed. Three types are underground natural gas storage, depleted natural gas or oiled fields, salt caverns, and aquifers. Extraction trends. So here are the extraction trends from when we began in the 1900s. So I'm going to go ahead and open it up to share with you. Okay, so basically here we are looking at the U.S. natural gas marketed production, the history of natural gas production here in the U.S. We began producing 128,000 million cubic feet, but you can see the sustained increase over the years. But in the last 50 years, from 1972, we produced 22.5 million cubic feet. There was a drastic increase in 1983, another increase in overall a decrease, and then it started increasing again. There's a decrease from 2001, which from my opinion is from 9/11, and then a steady increase following. However, at 2016, from 2017, we're going to learn about how we started producing liquid natural gas. In 2017, our production increased drastically from 29.2 million cubic feet all the way to in 2019, where we produced 36.4 million cubic feet. So this is basically an overall graph following the trends of US natural gas marketed production. Availability, production, and consumption. So the United States in 2021 is the #1 in the world for natural gas production, producing 33.5 TCF. We're also #1 in the world for natural gas consumption, consuming 30.28 TCF. But we are #5 in the world for natural gas reserves. We only hold 12.9 TCF. In the United States, our top 5 natural gas producing states as of 2020 are Texas, Pennsylvania, Louisiana, Oklahoma, and West Virginia. Texas is our highest natural gas producing state, producing 23.9% of our natural gas. Next, our availability. This is just a global scale of availability, production, and consumption. So like we just talked about, United States is #1 for the top 10 countries that produce the most natural gas. #2 is Russia. #3 is Iran. #4 is China. And #5 is Qatar. Top 10 countries that consume the most natural gas. Again, #1 is the US, 2 Russia, 3 China, 4 Iran, and 5 Canada. Next, in relation to the whole world, globally, the top 5 countries with the largest natural gas reserves. This is where the United States is #5. #1 is Russia, who holds 38 trillion cubic meters of natural gas in their reserves. In Russia, this is 38 trillion cubic meters is equivalent to around 19% of the world's total reserves. And a little later on, we're going to be discussing the effects of the Russian-Ukraine war on our natural gas global market. But #2 is Iran, 3 is Qatar, 4 is Turkmenistan, and 5 is United States, with how much each country has in their reserves. Next is the usage. So US natural gas consumption. The United States uses about 30.28 trillion TCF, 30.28 TCF of natural gas in 2021. So below is the breakdown by sector. So what is natural gas used for? What does it power? First is electric power. So 37% goes towards electricity, 33% goes to industrial uses, 15% goes to residential, 11% goes to commercial, and 3% goes to transportation. And below we have a pie chart breaking down the total 30.28 TCF by sector. And then on the right, we have the US natural gas consumption by sector from 1950 to 2021. So here you can see each sector's relation to each other from 1950 to 2021. Now, one of the questions that we needed to discuss was if there is a global natural gas market, and the answer is yes. Now, it is a type of natural gas. A global market is capable because of LNGs, which creates a global market for natural gas. It's liquefied natural gas. So LNG is natural gas that has been cooled to a liquid state at about -260 degrees Fahrenheit for shipping and storage. And on the right, we see LNGs being transported on a ship. This liquefaction process was developed in the 19th century, and it makes it possible to transport natural gas to places that gas pipelines do not exist and are not feasible. So the global LNG market was valued at $30.34 billion in 2020 and is expected to reach $66.13 billion by 2027. So it is a growing market. Now, the United States' role in the global market. So the United States, we import a very small amount of LNG. It was more so at the beginning of the 2000s. In 2007 was our highest, was our peak year of US importing LNG. But following, there was an increase in production and expansion, which decreased the need to import LNG. So the US was a net exporter of LNG in 2017 to 2021. So we exported more than we imported. In 2021, US LNG exports reached 3.5, 3.6 BCF to 45 countries. Below are the top 5 countries that the US exports to. Number 1 is South Korea, 2 is China, 3 is Japan, and 4 is Brazil, and 5 is Spain. And that concludes my portion of the presentation. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. My name is Ren Fukuoka. I'm presenting alongside Madison. So to continue the presentation, I would like to start off with discussing the externalities of natural gas. So the first one is air pollution. So the process of obtaining natural gas leads to, of course, emissions. And some of these include sulfur, mercury, and particulates, although these are, very negligible amounts. One of the more important ones that I want to focus on is nitrogen dioxide. That leads to smog. And however, compared to gasoline and diesel, these are all lower levels. So because of this, it avoids annual emissions of 1,900 tons of nitrogen oxides, 3,900 tons of sulfur dioxides, and 5,200 pounds of particulates. So due to these reductions, it leads to public health benefits, especially for people who have asthma, bronchitis, lung cancer, or any cardiovascular diseases or problems. Next one is land use and wildlife. So the construction and land disturbance required for oil and gas drilling leads to altering the land use and it also harms local ecosystems. So these processes cause erosion and also affects wildlife habitats and migration routes. And these construction leads to runoff and pollution of local water sources as well. So as you can see from this picture, that's one of the pipes transporting the natural gas, and just you could clearly see how much the destruction of land is needed to install these pipes. Next is water pollution, which I'll cover groundwater and surface water. So groundwater is just water in the ground, just natural sources of water. And these can be contaminated with fracking fluids and gases. These gases include methane and volatile organic compounds. So these are due to, or the groundwater gets contaminated because of improper construction or failing wells that allow gas to leak from wells to underground water sources. And for surface waters, these get contaminated due to spills, such as the chemical additives or diesel, and also from leaks from wastewater. And these result from improper land and wastewater management. So here is a chart of the price of natural gas. As you can see, from 1998 up to, let's say, 2019, before COVID, prices were, steadily decreasing. Actually, yeah, we can compare to 2008 to 2019. Prices have been slowly declining, and this is due to just more supply being in the area due to technological advancements. And I just want to cover the factors that affect natural gas prices include, of course, the supply, amounts in storage, and natural gas imports and exports. And the last part is important because I will be covering the effects of Russia on natural gas prices. So due to the war and due to the sanctions placed on Russia, a lot of the supply of natural gas has been cut off from the entire world. And this is massive because Russia is the second largest exporter of natural gas. Also, along with this, the COVID-19 pandemic, many gas companies stopped producing to maintain their margins because supply was so massive at the time. Also, demand went down during COVID because a lot of production and manufacturing went down. Another thing is hotter weather. And this one I found funny, or not funny, but interesting. But natural gas demands spike up when weather is hot or cold, and these are due to ACs and heaters. And yeah, the weather apparently seems to play a very big role in determining prices of natural gas. Anyway, this is going to conclude the presentation on natural gas. Thank you guys for listening.